Hello, listeners. As an enhancement to your listening experience, I am now going to present these archive episodes unedited in their entirety, which includes all of my afterthoughts. So, continue listening after the outro music if you want to hear what I thought of the episode. And if you're enjoying the podcast, please support it by going to the homepage, spacerockethistory.com, and clicking on the orange donate button or the Patreon link. And now I can also accept Zelle and Venmo. Just use my email address, spacerockethistory@gmail.com. Thanks.
We choose to go to the moon in this decade and do the other things, not because they are easy, but because they are hard.
Godspeed, John Glenn.
Roger, 0G, and I feel fine.
Can I feel out? Okay, I'm out.
How does it feel for the United States to be the new record holder?
At last, huh? When that baby lights, there's no doubt about it.
Liftoff. We have a liftoff. 32 minutes past the hour. Liftoff on Apollo 11.
Listen, Tranquility Base here. The Eagle has landed.
That's one small step for man, one giant leap for mankind.
Hello and welcome. This is Michael Annis, and you're listening to episode 253 of the Space Rocket History Podcast. And now, Apollo 12, Moonwalk 2, Part 4, Surveyor Crater, and Surveyor 3. From the previous episode, we left Pete and Al on Moonwalk 2 just as they were preparing to explore the Surveyor Crater. Now, standing on the rim of the Surveyor Crater, Conrad and Bean rested for a moment. Just beyond the far wall, they could see Intrepid, and it now resembled a tiny replica. As Pete and Al considered their approach to Surveyor 3, there was some concern, both on the moon and in mission control. The fear was that Surveyor 3 might welcome its first visitors by sliding down the crater wall on top of them. For that reason, Conrad and Bean had decided to approach the spacecraft from the side, following the contour of the sloping wall.
Figure out a plan of attack on the Surveyor. One thing we would like to make sure is that you remain away from directly below the Surveyor as you move up to it. That is, move up to it on one side or the other, either north or south.
Okay, we concurred with that. We were talking about it last night. We're going to approach it from the side.
Surveyor 3 was now to the right of the astronaut's position, about 300 feet away, gleaming in the morning sunlight. Antennas and sensors still reached upwards from its tubular frame, just as they had on April 20th, 1967, when the spacecraft thumped onto the moon amid blast from its braking rockets.
Now, I think we can do is walk down here about 300 feet and walk straight down that slope to it.
I do too. It doesn't look so bad from here, does it, Pete? Pete, will that direction of your travel be to the northeast direction?
Now what we do is go directly east and then walk directly sort of north, curving right around it down to it.
Roger, copy. You're going directly east, and then you'll be curving around going up north towards the Surveyor.
Like Intrepid, Surveyor had the strange organic look of a craft designed for the void of space. Fuel tanks and batteries protruded from its open frame. This unlikely robot had made history when its mechanical scoop, under command from Earth, had scraped the skin of the moon and given scientists their first real information on the physical nature of lunar soil. Surveyor had lasted just 15 days until the onset of lunar darkness. It was a relic now, but it was about to make one more contribution to space exploration. At this point during the walk to Surveyor, Pete Conrad's heart rate was a moderate 110 beats per minute, and Al's was about 120. Houston became a little nervous about the walk down to Surveyor and wanted to make sure that the astronauts were ready. Pete and Al were pretty busy with sampling and repairing cameras at their last stop and did not get the rest that the flight surgeon was recommending.
Pete and Al, Houston, before you go much further, could you stop and have a little break there before you proceed on down the slope?
Yeah, we're just going to move to the area where we could stop and case the joint. Al, grab a shot of that bead of glass there and we'll bag it. Okay? Better in the Hope Diamond.
After a very brief rest, Pete and Al continued their journey to Surveyor 3.
Yeah, hey, that's coming in from the south. Looks like a good way, Pete. I'll tell you what I'm going to do, Al. I'm just going to lope right around here. That's what I mean. If you stay at this level, you'll end up at Surveyor. You're right. Follow the contour lines. No problem at all, Houston. Look at the scoop sticking out. I didn't see that before.
Pete and Al, could you give us a comment on how far you're sinking in?
Not sinking in very far at all. This is fairly firm stuff. And I'm down in the crater about the same distance down as Surveyor is. I'm just going around it radially. Would you say so, Al? Yeah, I'd say that I think Houston is just concerned about us getting down in this crater. We've been thinking about it too, Houston. Now, don't worry about it, Houston, because it's really no strain. I'm 200 feet away from it. I'm at the same level. The ground is firm, and I can go right back up the way I came out with no strain at all. That's right.
Roger, sounds good.
It was going to be last night when we were talking about it. Yeah, it is. I don't think there'll be any sweat. Now, I'll tell you what let's do. Get right over here, and we'll park all our gear, take ourselves a little rest, go over your photo plan, and then we'll have at it. Let's go right over here. I'll tell you what, why don't you get a photograph of it right now? It's a good place. Okay, we'll do. Stop and do it right here. Trying to see which way it landed.
Okay, Pete and Al, when you're looking at it there, would you also try to determine whether there's any effect from the dust during the descent? That is, could you determine whether there's more dust on either the west or the east side of any of the bays, and the north or the south side of the camera?
Okay, we sure will. I actually flew around it. I'll tell you, the way that dust was going, it probably went right over top of it. Yeah, that's right. Any dust you hit on the edge would never go down in this crater. Yeah, I'm going to move you up here just a little, Pete, without any tools, which makes it pretty easy. But look, I'll tell you what, let's leave the whole... I'll tell you what, let's take the tool carrier with us. I think we can go right up the other rim and around to... Sure. There's that big blocky baby there. And, we can hit that right over there. That's that neat crater. Yeah. Well, I'd rock you. Just get off the back of the limb.
Surveyor was a relatively old crater, and the geologist had warned the astronauts to expect a soft, thick dust blanket there. But the moonwalkers were relieved to find firm ground that gave good footing. With slow, careful steps, they closed in. They could see, to their surprise, that the Surveyor wasn't white anymore. Instead, it was a light tan color.
Beautiful, beautiful sight. You know, this one's brown, and I don't remember ours being brown there at the Cape. Kind of a light tan, or maybe that's the way it's changed color. What color was this one? Houston white when it started out?
Stand by on that.
Yeah, it looks a light tan now. I tell you, this crater isn't as steep as we thought, Pete. I better be careful. I'm going to get dust on it. Yeah. Yeah, I'll stop here and this will be my last picture.
Al, the equipment bays were white on the side, and the scoop itself was a light blue.
Well, it's kind of we'll get down there and get closer inspection. What was the general color of all the structure. For example, all the struts and the lights.
That's all white. The equipment bays and the primary structure is all painted with a white paint.
Turn tan or something. We'll have to look at it more closely. No, that's what happened. It's changed color, huh? It sure has. The sun's cooked that paint brown. Can't imagine what.
Had Surveyor been baked by the sun, or had Conrad and Bean sprayed it with dust when they landed? They would investigate when they got closer, and they would take pictures of it from every angle, and more pictures of the soil and rocks nearby, so the scientists could compare them with the Surveyor's own images from 31 months earlier. They would collect some of those rocks, and then Conrad would snip off pieces of the craft to take home. But before they poked, prodded, and otherwise cannibalized the probe, there was something Al and Pete wanted to do. This brings us to the caper. Before the flight began, Conrad and Bean decided they wanted to do something while they were on the moon that would be amusing, a joke or trick for their friends and family back home. Conrad was a longtime collector of hats. He had managed for the crew systems people to make a giant blue and white baseball cap that would fit over the top of his space helmet. He was going to put it on and wait for everyone on Earth to notice as he bounded past the TV camera. Unfortunately, nobody could figure out a way to get the cap into the lunar module in secret, so they had to think of something else to do. The alternative plan called for Conrad and Bean to get one of the support crew to go out and buy an automatic timer for the Hasselblad camera. It was a little spring-loaded gadget. Conrad and Bean's idea was that they would mount the camera on the hand tool carrier and then pose side by side next to the Surveyor. It would take only a minute for them to fire off a few shots, saluting and waving, shaking hands, or whatever, and Conrad was sure that when they got home, one of those pictures would end up on the cover of Life magazine. He couldn't wait until everybody asked, with both astronauts in the photo, who took the picture. Conrad managed to smuggle the timer in the pocket of his spacesuit. He had remembered to bring it into the lunar module with him, and just before they headed out on the traverse that morning, he had dropped it into the tool carrier. But it was full of rocks now, and tenacious lunar dust. When the time seemed right, Bean rummaged in the bag for a moment, looking for the glint of chrome on the timer. But all he saw was grime. To make things more difficult, the astronauts couldn't talk about it over the radio because the whole world was listening. And if they heard, they would realize Pete and Al were up to something. So, Pete and Al used hand signals. While Conrad continued holding the tool carrier, Bean continued to rummage through the samples, each in their little Teflon baggies. But they were still unable to find the timer. Bean then got down on his knees and began taking out the rock samples. But he was concerned that he would lose them. Conrad also helped look for a couple of minutes, but they still could not find the timer. Finally, Al gave up and said, "Forget it," and they put all the rocks back in the bag, sadly realizing there would be no photo of both Apollo 12 lunar astronauts together on the moon. Later, when Pete turned the rock sample bag upside down to pour its contents into the rock box for storage, he found the self-timer sitting right on top, but they were out of time and not close enough to the Surveyor then. It was a great idea, but like many things in life, circumstances didn't work out exactly. Years later, Al Bean painted what the picture would have looked like had they been able to take it. He named the painting "The Fabulous Photo We Never Took." Here's a clip of the search for the Hasselblad timer.
Where'd you come, Matt? Huh? He looked down there just once more. Oh, boy. Look at you. Yeah, I'm holding it with this post. See? Wait a minute. What's in your bag here? Yeah, they're in a film magazine. Here. Throw that handle and throw it away. Okay, that's a good idea. Junk you out of there we don't need. Turn this in. Had it. Huh? Forget it.
Finally, the astronauts made it to Surveyor 3. They radioed their description of the craft and then took more pictures.
I'll tell you what, why don't you mosey down there and start taking some photographs? That's a good idea. The first thing is photo Bay A, 11, 15 feet, one picture. 11, 15, let me get it checked. 11, 15. Boy, that's turned just kind of a light tan, hasn't it? Bigger has. And some of the things are even a dark brown. Now you're closer than 15. Don't go any closer. Yeah, maybe I better back up and add it, boy. How's that? Yep.
Hey, Pete, do you think there's a chance you're at the wrong surveyor?
No, sir. Boy, it sure dug in the ground, didn't it? Oh, look at those pad marks. They're still there. Still waffle imprints on it. Okay, what's next? Photo TV sector. F8, 15, 3 pictures. Okay, let me move down. Hey, this cost checklist sure helps do the job. Sure does. Cadet Gibson checklist. Okay, yeah. Hey, look at that dirt still on the footpad. It's going to make compliments to the Capcom. Hey, we got a nice brown Surveyor here, Houston. Yeah. Even the tanks, which were, well, raised the visor, it's not so brown, but it's, and the glass is still on the top. Not a bit of it is fractured. Yep. Amazing. Okay. Shovel is gray. Take the Surveyor scene here. I don't want to kick any of this dirt up because I'd like to get a picture of compacting of the dirt there. Yeah. That'll be a tough shot. That's photo TV sector, F8, 15 and 3. Now I have photo scoop imprints. F8, it's a 5, 2 and stereo. Oh, that color chart has sure changed colors these days. Okay, let me get a quick shot of it. About 8 feet, I'll shoot. Okay, now what? The footpad? Photo scoop imprints. F8, 5 feet, 2 in stereo. Okay. The scoop imprints look different than I imagined. Okay, let me try them. And a little closer. You have to really bend over. Oh, you do. Back up. Oh, where are you shooting now? Shooting right there with the I'm sorry. Yeah. But the next one is photo the footpads, 2 prints, F8, 5, 2 in stereo. Hey, just a second, I'll get it. I know what I want to do. Okay. Okay, I'll get the footpads now. And then I'll also get the dirt that's on them. Disturbed surface by the footpad 2 area. Okay, then take photo. FP2 area, F8-5 in stereo. Okay, will do. Okay, next one, Pete. Photo vernier engine bay A, F11, 5 feet, 1 picture. Okay. Looks pretty good. The engine is still green. Yep. In fact, that green seems to have had less change than most of the rest. Okay, Pete, that's complete. Houston, not a bit of this glass is cracked. One little piece down here looks like it no longer reflects. But other than that, it's in perfect condition. A little warped. Segments warped, but other than that, it looks pretty much the same. The thing that's most amazing to me is how it's turned so brown.
Roger, we copy that, Al.
I think you got a photo of that scoop there, the way it dug in. I did. There's no way that thing could slide down the hill on us the way it's dug in. Okay, now let me get that footpad. That's a beautiful shot there. We're going to do footpath 3, I guess it is. Or is that 1? Footpath 3. Okay, and that's going to be an F8 probably. It's pretty low. Let me try 5-6. That aft honeycomb shock absorber struck the dirt. Looks like it took some of the shock. Other than that, the front one didn't appear to do that. Stereo there. Sure isn't going to slide down the hill, though, that's for sure. Well, those solar arrays, they're not blue anymore. They're black. There's a Canopus seeker. Now, there's some... Hey, here, let me get the top of this little instrument box, because the glass is fractured there. Okay, I'm interested in that. See if I can get it. Hey, this is so much easier working around than in 1G in our practice. It's unbelievable. Pete, can you move your shadow in this situation?
Roger, Pete. Good way to have it.
Okay, photo of the TV mirror. Okay. Well, the TV mirror is F8, 5, picture. That TV mirror is brown. It's no longer a mirror. No, it's brown because it's looking at brown, isn't it? See? Oh, maybe it's got some coating on it. Yeah, it does. Why don't you stay right there and I'll come in and wipe it. Okay, come on in and wipe it. Look it over close. See the mechanical components down inside it. Yeah. And it just got a fine dust on it. I'll be done. Yeah. Let me get a shot of that. That'll be a good... Go ahead, you get yourself in the photo too. Okay, just a second.
Now it was souvenir time. The first thing was to verify Surveyor was firmly planted. Conrad gave it a jiggle to confirm it was not going to move as the astronauts operated on it. Pete radioed, "Okay, Houston, I'm jiggling it."
Okay, Houston, I'm jiggling it. The Surveyor is firmly planted here. That's no problem.
After assuring mission control, Conrad wielded a pair of cutting shears and began the surgery of Surveyor 3. First of all, the engineers wanted some samples of Surveyor's metal tubing to see how it had been affected by 31 months on the surface of the moon.
Okay, retrieve cutter and can. Okay, here we go. Comes the cutter. Hey, this is easier 16G. That. Comes your cutter, babes. Okay, you now have a cutter. Now let me get the can. Okay, one cutter. Okay, looking good. Now, this cable here, it's not a Y cable at all, is it? It is a Y cable, but it's in a different manner. Not gonna... Okay. There's something else they didn't tell us either. Look at that. 2 extra ones. Yeah. I'll tell you what, you're just gonna have to get that piece, and I'm gonna have to cut it on the other side. Just wait a second, let me get in there. Okay. Drop that in the can. That's the only piece they're gonna get that way. Okay. I gotta cut the cable back here though. Okay. Why don't you give that a cut right there, Pete? All right. Give him a couple pieces. There you go. All right, back off. Okay, you got to cut this cable too, Pete. No, it goes around the camera. All right. Oh no, it doesn't either. On those tubes, isn't it? Yep. All right. You see that material disintegrate? Hey, that cut's easy. Yeah, be kidding. Cut it. It's too big. Huh? Too big? Wait. Okay. It has sort of weathered a little bit, 31 months, hasn't it? It's here, though. Tell you what, that antenna's still pointed right to Earth. That's normal, though. Never had to move. Okay, that's done. Captured that. Okay, we got the sample, Houston. Barrel sample, the cable and tube. Let's Okay, that's in there. Good. Let me make sure that's in there tight, Pete. Okay, one shiny tube coming up. Okay, wait a minute. Be around there in a minute. Look at how that stuff fractured down on the ground. The paint flaked off. Yeah. That looks like a shiny mirror, some sort of thermal coating. Paint. Good luck. I hate to tell you this, but the Surveyor tool is gonna make. Hey, that's a tougher tube than we're supposed to have, gang. I'd say forget that tube and find another one. Kenneth, I'm gonna break the tool. I know it. That tube on the back we're supposed to collect. Houston is just a little bit stronger than it's supposed to be. Or glass mirror.
Roger, we copy.
Tube. How about right here, Pete?
We copy.
Wait a minute. It's a shiny tube. That'd be a good one if we could cut it. Where? Right there? Oh, that's even thicker. Yeah, I guess it looks at that. Get the camera. Get the tube. Why don't you bang one on that glass? The tool, no kidding. Hey, Pete? Huh? Why don't you bang that glass one? Won't even break. Yeah, it's pretty good glass, Houston. Can't even break it with our... There you go. Half a piece off and I'll collect it and put it in. Kind of crunches, doesn't it? Man, that's not glass. I don't know. Man, forget it. Oh, what it is. That's sure not what we tried out in Houston. Made at the cave. That's metal with glass. You better take a picture of it, though. It's very interesting. Excuse me. I need to before you are today. Come on, boy. We got to move essence.
Now it was time for what Conrad wanted most, the Surveyor's TV camera. With all its circuitry and moving parts, it was the real prize. Conrad wrestled with the shears as he tried to cut the camera support struts, saying, quote, "Okay, 2 more tubes on that TV camera and that baby's ours," end quote. Then he made another cut and said, quote, "There's one," end quote. Now Bean gripped the camera with his gloves, and Conrad made the final cut, saying, quote, "It's ours," end quote. That TV camera was his mission trophy.
Whip around the other side of that scoop. Let's get that camera. All right. Wait, I've got to open your bag. Stop. I'm not going anywhere. Okay, got to open your bag. It opens good. Okay. All the parts are working. Okay, I think it's open now. Hey, I got a shiny tube for you. Okay. Let me get it. You sure do. That's a good one, too. Here, wait a minute. That's your hand. See? Cut. Hey, boy. Good cut. Good cut. Good one, Pete. Okay, 2 more tubes on that TV camera, and that baby's ours. There's one. That's ours. That's baby. We got her. Beautiful. Turn around. Let me lay it on you, man. It'll fit right in that sack. Hey, is this ever lighter than that one in Houston? Let's get the scoop while we're at it. I can hold that thing with one hand and open the bag. Get in there. Get in that bag. There you go. In the bag. In the bag? Now, wait a second. Yeah, I got to zip it up. Good show.
Copy, it's in the bag.
As a bonus for the scientists and engineers, the astronauts also snipped off Surveyor 3's scoop, which still had moon dust inside of it.
Good cut. And they wanted that joint if they could get it. They have to work. Oh, you're okay. That's it. Outstanding. See, we got dirt in it. Bring back some of the original dirt. Okay. Get an extra sample for you, Houston. Scoop's got dirt in it.
Well done, troops.
Salutations from the Bear State. This is Michael Annis, your host, and I wanted to say thanks for listening to episode 253 of the Space Rocket History Podcast entitled Apollo 12, Moonwalk 2, Part 4, Surveyor Crater, and Surveyor 3. Hope you enjoyed this episode. It was a pleasure to bring it to you. I want to give a big shout out to all my longtime listeners. Thanks for staying subscribed, and extend a warm welcome to my new listeners. I'm glad you're here. Today we salute the Mir ISS level donors. There is one so far this year. Mir ISS donors contribute $80 or more during the calendar year. Thanks for your continued support, Mir ISS donors. Okay, I had a few afterthoughts about this week's episode. First off, next week we will cover Blocky Crater and the end of the moonwalk, and we may even have a lunar liftoff. Want to credit my sources for this episode: A Man on the Moon by Andrew Chaikin, Apollo 12 Lunar Surface Journal, and Apollo, an Eyewitness Account by Alan Bean. Well, what did you think about the caper? I guess some crews like to have fun and put their mark on a mission, and some crews are more businesslike and stay in the confines of their mission plan. In this case, the Apollo 12 gag did not work. But I do agree with Conrad. If the picture with the timer had worked, it would have been a great cover for some magazine. Did you catch Capcom Gibson's attempt at humor? Remember, he said, "Hey Pete, do you think there's a chance you're at the wrong surveyor?" I thought that was pretty funny. I guess he was referring to all the times Pete and Al wondered if they were at the right crater. Pretty good. Moving on, I enjoyed how excited the astronauts got to get the camera off of the Surveyor and put it in the bag. They were saying, "It's in the bag, it's in the bag." And Houston responds, "Copy, it's in the bag." That was funny. I enjoyed that. Okay, I have posted some pictures and the audio for this episode on my webpage, spacerockethistory.com. Hope you check that out. I was pleased to receive 8 new donations and 1 increase in support of the podcast over the past couple of weeks. Otar D sent in another donation this year, moving him to the Soyuz level. Lawrence W donated at the Vostok level and earned his rocket emoji. Kenneth W from the UK donated at the Apollo level and earned his rocket emoji. Peter H donated at the Apollo level. Nick I from Stockholm, Sweden donated at the Vostok level. Techneil from Germany donated at the Soyuz level. Giri S from India donated at the Vostok level. Darth R pledged on Patreon at the Orion level. And John N pledged on Patreon at the Apollo level. Our Patreon total donors are still at 169. We lost some and we gained some. And the goal for 2018 is to reach 218 Patreon donors. The overall total of donors this year is 248, with a goal of reaching 418. Thank you so much for those coming in for me in April, because it's been a historically low month, and I appreciate you donating in April. For those of you who are enjoying the content provided here and have not donated yet in 2018, please consider supporting the podcast if you're financially able. Keep in mind, Space Rocket History is entirely listener funded, and I depend upon your financial support to keep the podcast going. To support the podcast, go to the homepage, spacerockethistory.com, click on the orange donate button or the Patreon link. All donors are rewarded with their name on the donors page at the level they choose to donate. Now, for those of you who have already donated for 2018, I certainly appreciate it. I have an item to give away this week, and I'm not going to say what it is. Instead, it will be a surprise to the lucky winner. To select the winner, Mrs. SRH gave every 2018 donor a number. Then she put the range in Google's random number generator and got the number for Ronald Bogner. That's Ron Bogner. If you would email me, Mike at spacerockethistory.com, and tell me your address, I will mail this out to you. I was pleased to see the podcast received 8 new 5-star ratings on iTunes over the past couple of weeks, and I wanted to thank M. Delling for the very kind review and the 5-star rating, and also the 7 other anonymous people who gave the podcast the all-important 5-star rating. Also, we had 2 more 5-star ratings on the archive podcast, and I want to thank whoever did that. Okay, folks, this episode is in the bag. Hope to have episode 254 posted by next Thursday. So long for now.